What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Pocono Race Review, the Great American Getaway 400, live from the Pocono Raceway. Let's get straight into it. Yeah, honestly, Pocono. Let's talk about Pocono for a minute because I mean, crowd was awesome. Crowd was absolutely awesome. I seen a few, I know a few people in the crowd, so I was trying to look for them at points, but man, that place sells it. That place knows how to sell out. I will say that. I mean, the race, on the other hand, was a little dull. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little dull. This is probably the worst Pocono race of the next gen era. Don't mind my sunburn. I was out in the lake all day before. Coming into the race, hence why I'm tired from swimming all day. But excuse me. Yeah, let's get into it. First stage, wasn't, I mean, Noah Gragson wrecked, on lap 14, so, yeah, Noah, it happened to a lot of people during the race, but what happened to Noah was he just got loose, tires, the rear tires caught a few bumps, just completely went out from under him, and then Gragson was in the fence. Some guys came in to pit, some guys didn't. If you ever driven Pocono on, NASCAR 15, that's kind of what this race was like, to be honest. But, yeah, that ended, that was really all that happened in Stage 1, because Stage 1 was only 30 laps, and on pit stops, some guys pitted at the Gragson caution, Pocono's a big enough track where you can pit before the, how do I say it? It's kind of like a road course almost, because the track's so big, right? You can pit 2 laps, or at 3 to go or whatever, before the leader catches the 2 to go, pit road's closed, or what have you. But, yeah, Stage 2 was virtually the same thing, for 60 laps instead of 30. Ross Chastain got into the wall, caught a big spin coming into turn 3, and, yeah, Ross absolutely backed it into the fence. Rough day. It was a rough day for Chastain. We'll talk about Ross more later, but after his wreck, he is way closer to the cutoff line than he was before, so bad day for the Busch Light #1 Peach. That's what you get for cheating on the melon. I forgot to mention, but Martin Truex Jr. won Stage 1. Yeah. The Toyotas really didn't care about strategy. They just really wanted Stage 1. I mean, Truex is a virtual lock to make the playoffs, unless we get 16 winners, and Truex isn't one of them. I genuinely think that's the only way Truex misses the playoffs, but I mean, we've only got a few races left. I don't even think it's possible anymore, because what do we got? We got Indy next week, Olympic breaks, and then it's Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington. So, a few more races in between, but things can happen. You never know. You never know. Truex could wreck out of all of them. That's really not Martin Truex's style, but he lives to fight another day. Denny Hamlin won Stage 2. Like I said, the Toyotas did not really care about strategy, but the winning move really was at the end of this stage. And I mean, because the guys who pitted right before the stage end, Ryan Blaney was one of them. They were able to take control. Ryan Blaney was really able to take control of this race from there. And I mean, Ryan Blaney didn't even win the race off pit road, if I remember correctly. Because it would have been him coming off pit road first, and then it would have been Larson. Yeah, Larson, Elliott, and 2 other guys. No, Buescher was actually the first off pit road. Buescher led the race for a bit. Who was, if you watch my short, he was predicting the race. Buescher was one of my picks, so yeah, it was kind of cool to see Chris Buescher up there, but he faded as the race went on. But then when Stage 3 hit, that was when things got chaotic. I mean, what was the first caution for? I can't even remember what the first caution was for. Oh, it was for Todd Gilliland. Yeah, Todd Gilliland hit the wall, and I mean, he didn't even hit the wall. He just shifted up a gear, and then he lost a brake rotor. So that was really the end of Todd Gilliland's day. And then that restart, yeah, this is where things started to get wild. I mean, I was really hoping things would go green just to see the fuel strategy at this point. It was like 42, 41 to go. And if it would have went green, fuel strategy would have came into the mix. But Corey LaJoie took out Kyle Busch. Brilliant. Another rough week as a Kyle Busch fan. I mean, I know I don't look like a Kyle Busch fan wearing a Chase Elliott and Dale Earnhardt shirt right now, but like, well, Dale Jr. at least. But there's a Kyle Busch shirt in that closet. There's a Kyle Busch shirt in that closet over there. What else happened? Oh, I should mention who else got taken out. Priest got taken out. I remember Harrison Burton got taken out of that one. I'm trying to think who else was in that wreck. AJ Allmendinger was in that wreck. I remember the 16 being in it. Yeah, great big wreck, but everyone was okay. That's what counts. Yeah, Ty Gibbs blew a motor. No, wait. The caution before that was the Zane Smith and John Hunter Nemechek wreck. Glad those two are okay. Sucks for Zane Smith. He was having a really good day up until that point, but yeah, Zane Smith qualified in the top 10. Yeah, and I mean, got some good momentum off his side after a second place finish 2 weeks ago at Nashville, but Zane Smith was unfortunately out of the race at that point, and same thing for John Hunter Nemechek. What else happened here? That was, oh yeah, Ty Gibbs blew a motor, and I mean, it looked like chocolate milk was coming out of that thing. In the words of Steve Letarte, it was just like, the second they got restarted off that Zane Smith, John Hunter Nemechek caution, it looks like chocolate milk was pouring out of the 54, man. Like, the friggin', like, it literally started blowing up, like, the second he crossed the start-finish line on the restart. So, rough day for Ty Gibbs. And, I mean, Ty Gibbs had a fast car under the hood. When Ty Gibbs got going in stage 1, I mean, once he got clear of William Byron, he had like a 4 or 5 second gap within like 10-15 laps. Like, Ty Gibbs was hauling ass. And then the last restart was really what settled it. Blaney got clear of Alex Bowman. And then, yeah, it was like 30 to go. Blaney really just had to set sail and keep running consistent lap time. Bowman was running him down at that point, but Blaney was able to air block, take his lane. And yeah, Denny Hamlin ended up getting by Alex Bowman. Denny Hamlin was the fastest car at the end of that race. On that last lap, he reeled Blaney in by a second, and the gap at the end was, I believe, 1.3 seconds. But Ryan Blaney crossed the line first. He gets his second career win at Pocono, 12th career win for Ryan Blaney in the 12 team. It was kind of cool to see that the winner was like embedded with NBC that week. But yeah, Ryan Blaney burned it down once again. I'm starting to get really sick of the commentators saying, oh, it's a rare burnout for Ryan Blaney. Like, no, Blaney's burned it out his last 3 wins. Like, chill. I mean, I get one was the championship, but like, it's not as rare as what people think. And yeah, Blaney gets the job done at Pocono. Before we go any further, we should check out our finishing results. Ryan Blaney wins. He started 8th, got the win. How many laps did he lead? Is the NASCAR app going to tell me? It's not looking like it. Okay, so Denny Hamlin comes up a close second, followed by Alex Bowman, William Byron, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex, Chase Elliott, and Bubba Wallace rounding at the top 10, which is, for Bubba, that's a hell of a run, because, I mean, Bubba was, what, 26th, 27th for the whole first stage, and I mean, he had a rough go at it. I mean, a rough go at it for Bubba Wallace in the beginning of that race. It did not look pretty for him, and I mean, he had to pit early, and I mean, he said he legitimately could not be aggressive with the car, so good job for Bubba Wallace. And I mean, if any, Bubba Wallace is really the only driver on the cutoff line who can have, like, who can win their way in on, or get their way in on points. And I mean, especially if Chastain has another run like today, like, excuse me. I mean, Chastain wrecked out at Nashville. I can't remember how he did at Chicago. I remember him running under the tire barriers on the final lap. He might have got a top 10, but a wreck every 2 weeks, and I mean, he did wreck at New Hampshire, but I think he still bounced back for like a top 20. But yeah, not the runs you want if you're Ross Chastain. And I mean, he said pre-race, Ross Chastain, he's like, yeah, winning is, like, you gotta win if you're driving for Team Trackhouse and all this stuff. And I mean, Suarez got the win, but Chastain don't. That's kind of crazy to think about. But Just outside the top 10, you have Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, who bounced back after a speeding penalty. Same with Chase Elliott. I should also mention William Byron that's probably the best run other than Iowa for William Byron I've seen all season. But at Seabell, or I already said those. Eric Jones, Eric Jones was my sneaker pick going into this one. I had a good feeling about Eric Jones. I just had a really good feeling about Toyota this weekend. I honestly thought Toyota was going to sweep the whole weekend, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup, but they didn't. So be it. Ford actually came closer to a sweep, but yeah, Eric Jones, he was up in the top 10 for majority of stage 1, and I mean, I know strategy plays a part in it all, but like all of stage 2 was up in the top 5, top 10 on like legitimate speed. So like shout out to Eric Jones. Chase Briscoe in 15th, followed by Daniel Suarez, Carson Hocebar, Austin Cindric, Corey LaJoie, as I said, who wrecked Kyle Busch. Josh Berry had a really good run too. He qualified in the top 5, but I mean, he had that tire go down on the one restart, and then he had to play alternate strategy, so it's just playing catch up. AJ Allmendinger, Justin Haley, Austin Dillon. I don't know what happened to Michael McDowell, but he was just off the pace at the beginning of the race. Daniel Hemrick had a suspension failure. That was on the final couple laps of the race. I genuinely thought they were going to throw the caution for a second, but Cody Ware overheating. Ty Gibbs had an engine failure, and the rest of these guys were all in accidents, other than JJ Yaley, who had a fuel pump go wrong, but he's in an NY Racing starting park team. John Hunter Nemechek, Zane Smith, Ryan Preece, Harrison Burton, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse, Todd Gill, and JJ Yaley, like I said, Ross Chastain, and Noah Gragson round out your your finishing results here in Pennsylvania. Here we are. Old Skew Car comes up with the goods for the playoff grid. So, as we know, Christopher Bell leads the playoff standings with 3 wins and 24 playoff points. Kyle Larson sits 1 playoff point behind with 3 wins and 23 playoff points. Denny Hamlin, 3 wins, 20 playoffs. William Byron, 3 and 16. Ryan Blaney's our first driver with 2 wins this season, actually. Well, apart from the guys who already have 3 wins, but he's the first guy on 2 wins and the only guy on 2 wins, because the guy behind him is Tyler Reddick with 1 and 8, Austin Cindric 1 and 7, Chase Elliott 1 and 6, Joey Logano 1 and 6, Keselowski, Bowman, and Suarez are all 1 and 5. Martin Truex is 137 of the good, Ty Gibbs 67 of the good, Chris Buescher 44 to the good, and Ross Chastain, after a wreck in stage 2, is 27 points to the good. Bubba Wallace is obviously the first one out, and he is 27 points out. Chase Briscoe heading into a very big weekend for Chase Briscoe, in my opinion, his home track at Indy, 75 outside the bubble. Kyle Busch in 19th, 102 out, and Todd Gilliland, 127 out. So essentially, if your name's not Bubba Wallace, must win. We already counted it. We got Indy, Richmond, Michigan, Daytona, and Darlington. So you essentially got 5 weeks. Go get a win, play some alternate strategy, give it hell, and you might have a shot at the NASCAR championship. Well, you have a 1 in 16 shot instead of a 1 in 32 or however many full-time drivers there are. But, yeah, let's talk about the race, man. I mean, it wasn't amazing, I'm going to say. I mean, I figure over the last couple weeks, I've been quite high on my post reviews. I can't be too high on this one because I wasn't very excited for a lot of this. And I mean, I'm going to say, I want to say 65 for Pocono, man. I mean, like, yeah, it just wasn't a whole lot to talk about. I mean, the racing was good. I mean, when cars could get side by side, it was entertaining, but I mean, it was very hard to pass. And I mean, like I say, I mean, Pocono's always been a tricky one to pass at, just because of dirty air, lines the cars take, how the cars are made, and etc. But yeah, today was just not a good day for Pocono Raceway. Well, it was. I mean, they had a great sellout crowd. They did have a massive thunderstorm come through at like 11 o'clock this morning. But yeah, the first race that hasn't been affected by what? Oh my god. When was the last time we had a non-rain delayed race? Because we had Chicago, weather delayed. And before that, it was Nashville. It had an hour-and-a-half weather delay. We had New Hampshire, which I was at, that had like an hour-and-a-half rain delay. We also had, well, I don't think Iowa was rain delayed. Sonoma wasn't rain delayed. So, other than the last 3 weeks, it's been all right, I guess. But it's just getting real sick of rain delays. But yeah, overall, Pocono, decent race. This isn't a race I'm going to be talking about for the next 2 to 3 years, though. I mean, last year's Pocono race, I was talking about that one for a while. I mean, I still talk about. I'd make jokes with my friends about how Denny says he still never touched Kyle Larson that day, but oh well. And we still talk about the 2022 race as well, because Hamlin got disqualified and fun stuff, whatever. But I think a 65% is fair for Pocono. Not too great, but not too bad either. It's like a happy medium. I mean, I'm hoping to get to Pocono next year, so keep in mind, like, I mean, I'll probably once I get to the racetrack, my liking for the racetrack will probably go through the roof. I mean, having New Hampshire as my home track, I know a lot of people are bored. It's like, oh, New Hampshire. I mean, it's like New Hampshire's got a soft spot in my heart. It's my home track, right? So maybe once I go to a race at Pocono, I'll enjoy it a little more. But yeah, this race just wasn't my cup of tea personally. I mean, yeah, on to Indy next week. It's gonna be so good to be back on the oval. It's gonna be so good to be back on that oval. But yeah, man, Ryan Blaney adds more points in his quest for the title. I think the real talking point for this race is Ford, to be honest, because I mean, Blaney looked very good. Like, he was in the top 5 all day. Like, he had legitimate speed. I think Ford have really started to figure out this next, the Mustang Dark Horse. So keep an eye on Ford. I will say that. I mean, I could see. I think it's a very realistic possibility that we have like a Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, and like Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin Championship 4. Like, I feel like that's probably what I'd pick for the Championship 4 at this point. I mean, yeah, I think the guys who could sneak in are maybe a Reddick or Chase Elliott's very consistent, but I'm just not seeing the wins that you need from Chase Elliott, like the wins that you need in modern day NASCAR from Chase Elliott to get him that final jump into the playoffs. But, well, into further rounds of the playoffs at least. I'd say Elliott's a round of 8. I think saying round of 12 would be pushing it, but the playoffs look extremely chaotic this year, to say the least. But yeah, overall, decent race at Pocono. Nothing to write home about. It's not going to be known as the greatest race in Pocono history forever, but a few highlight reel moments that can help promote next year's race. But yeah, hopefully I'll be at Pocono next year, guys. If you enjoyed today's video, smash the like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe and notifications turned on, and subscribe to the Patreon if you want early access to all of these videos. Thank you guys so much for watching my Pocono race review. And yeah, I'll see you next week where we'll go kiss some brakes. Oh, it's so good to be back on the oval. So good. Take care and peace.